Howdy listeners, welcome to a milestone episode of the Snowy's Camping Show. We'll explain why in a minute, but before we do that, please subscribe via YouTube, your favourite podcast app, or join in on the conversation at the Snowy's Camping Banter Facebook group. Now it is a milestone for us. We've hit
episode 100.
Triple digits, 100th episode.
Triple digits.
And we had big plans for a big celebration episode.
And
we're too busy. It seemed. As much as we were talking about it for weeks, what are we going to do? And then it came down to the last minute. We went, we'll put something special on the screen, and then we'll come up.
We forgot our party hats.
We forgot our party hats. Yeah, with streamers, we were going to have the budget didn't allow for snacks on the table. And
story of our life, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's like, I was going to go camping, didn't quite work out.
It's a bit like that, yeah. But then we thought, well, let's do something different, and then we did some research. What do you do different for a podcast? We went, we've already done all of that, like best ofs and all that. So then we left ourselves high and dry.
Yeah, so, like recap, special guests, Q&As. It's like, tick, tick, tick.
Yeah. So we decided we talk best ofs.
Yes, like as in best of 2023 products. So it's like essentially top 10 different categories of products. What's the best? As determined by customers, by you, and we're dear listeners.
Absolutely, and we're hoping this will spark a little bit of debate, because what I think's best will be different than what you think's best. And then there's what our best of blogs, which we put together. Caitlin, our blog administrator, puts them together. We update them each year, and they're based on best in terms of what sells the best. Now that's generated by the consumer, because if something sells and it performs well, they say good things about it, and they write reviews, and we hear good things, and then we feel more confident recommending that to other customers, and more customers use it, and the more positive feedback we get, more comfortable we are saying,
it's great.
This seems to be great. This 10, it's good value for money, does what it's supposed to do.
But those best of blogs, literally, because a lot of people are like, oh, why isn't this Matt in your best of? It's like, well, because we don't sell it. And those best of blogs are actually based on the Snowy's range, what the top 10 performing products are in accordance with customer purchases. So we're not going to have a Nemo mat in our top 10 hiking mat category, because we don't sell Nemo. So therefore the customers can't buy it from us, and therefore, it's not best of everything worldwide, because also it's impossible to say what the best of is everything worldwide if you don't sell it and you don't have interactive use with it, and you don't, you're really just going off people's opinions. So that's why we go off our people's opinions.
Yeah, and we wanted to remove personal opinion out of it as much as we could.
Correct,
use actual data.
Not to discount. Is so controversial.
Absolutely. And we're hoping to actually get lots of personal opinion off this. So fire away on the Facebook group and YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
What was I going to say? No, I've forgotten. It slipped my mind. Can't have been that important.
Don't know.
Anyway, I'm sure there's going to be lots of different opinions on this. So we're going to fire off on a few categories. So we do top 10s in all of these articles that we post.
Now, hang on, I have a question.
Sorry,
for
I know
you.
what I was going to say before I forget, because I just remembered what it was, not to be rude. You mentioned Nemo before, so we don't want to discount other brands like that, because Nemo, as far as we know, is a really good brand. Now, I've not personally used Nemo products. I know there are viewers of our YouTube channel who rave about Nemo products.
I'm literally saving my pennies for a Nemo product, I'm totally cool to not. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure if we had them in our range, they probably fit within this pretty well. Yeah. Where they fit, we don't know until they ever become part of our range. So that's why they're not here. So we're just trying to, basically what we're trying to do is shut down the people who go, well, why isn't this in your range? Or why don't you think of this one? Well, we're basing it on what the data we know about. So,
correct. Yeah. Also, just really quickly, because we're like best of 2023, well, what is it? May 2023? So is this data actually technically collected in 2022? And therefore, all that data can finally be compiled in 2023. So it's best of 2023.
Yeah. So some
because you're the data man for these blogs and all this info.
So we update it each year, and we just realised this year that we've got so many articles that we've created now that it takes us half a year to update them all. So we're in June still updating the best of blogs. So we've got a different plan for next year to try and update them early in the year. But basically, we take the previous year's data and then collate all of that and put that into this year's data.
Yeah.
So there are some elements, like if products have been discontinued or not available anymore, then that's not very helpful for the consumer. So we leave that out. If there are new products, then we don't know how well they're going to perform yet, but we'll still maybe not in the top 10. They haven't got a position, but we might just call them out in the blog and say, look,
type thing.
Yeah, these are new.
Yeah, keep your eye on this.
I reckon next year, I used to like to try and make predictions and say, I reckon this will be in the top 10 next year. Sometimes I don't think
anybody listening would be surprised that you're the data guy.
Why? When have I ever ramped on about data?
No, but I think you just come across as a data man.
Were you going to say geek or nerd or something?
No. Why would you say that about yourself?
Yeah, right.
Data guy, data man.
Well, this is just numbers. This is just like sold this many, and that's more than that one. Therefore, that's got a higher position than that one.
Well, don't sell yourself short. It's a little bit more than that.
I do like a bit of data there.
You like to make some predictions like Anthony Green.
Who's Anthony Green?
Oh my God. Oh, never mind. It's just a political. I'm the geek now. ABC election coverage. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, you're the geek. Yeah.
This is not camping related at all.
I feel better about myself now. So we are 6 minutes in, and
haven't talked about anything important.
We've covered 2 topics. Firstly, we're in the triple digits. It's 100th episode, and we're going to talk about something eventually.
It's good to know that we're 100 episodes in and haven't changed.
No, when you've posted on the Monday just gone because we skipped a week.
Yeah.
And said, we're still prepping this. Sorry, you'll have to wait another week. We're going to a fortnightly schedule because If
you've missed that, by the way, we're now publishing fortnightly.
For now, because we're rushing through topics and we want a bit more time to prep stuff.
Yeah.
And someone said, you could talk about dirt.
Can you please? I don't want you to go fortnightly. Just talk about dirt or trains or something.
I reckon we could probably rattle on for a good half an hour about dirt. We did it with Tempex and a few other mundane topics that we went, oh gosh, what are we going to say? But anyway, back to the
real
to what
juice.
we're actually here for in our 100th episode. Best ofs. So
for camping in the broader umbrella of the term, 4-wheel drive / touring tents.
Yeah, so these are heavy duty. Heavy
duty, primarily canvas, often have that real sort of canvassy, khaki, sandy coloured aesthetic.
The canvas for durability. There's usually a quick pitch sort of
element
method with
to
it.
them,
like a family tent's got a lot of guy ropes and pegs and rooms. This is usually something that's easy to put up and down each night.
Yeah.
But mostly it's
rugged
durable.
To go with your 4-wheel drive, basically.
Heavy, assuming you've got a roof rack or something to carry it on.
So number 1, is there any surprises really, Oztent RV?
No, there's not. I got one and it's hands down. Look, and this comes from someone who maybe if you asked me 10 years ago, what would you use for touring tents, I would have gone, that massive thing, no way, I'm not going to use it. I bought one and I wouldn't use a different tent. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, they come in the 3, 4, 5s, and specifically the 5 size leads the way. And I think that's because, you can fit 4 people with mats on the ground or 2 people and room for bags comfortably on stretchers and things like that. It's probably just the most versatile of the sizes. Loads of accessories.
You've got lots of modular really things, walls and...
Correct, and modular, really well marketed. Oztent obviously is a good brand. Like there isn't any surprises.
No. They just work. They just do what they're supposed to do. You can also repair them. You can replace pole sections and knuckles, and so it's field maintainable.
Yeah, very much. From my perspective, though, and I mean, I don't disagree with it taking out the number 1 spot, but I always feel really disappointed in the 4-wheel drive touring tent roundups that the Darchi Safari tents just are never included. And I just feel like they are the most underrated touring tent that exists.
I reckon.
I mean, Austral Canvas is a smaller, they make similar styles. So it's essentially, I know I've talked about it before, it's essentially like a little pyramid tent. You've got your big square footprint, a central pole in the middle. You can get an A-frame if you want more floor space without that central pole. You can get a slightly extended version. I think Dutch Safari is 260 and a 360, two different sizes.
An extra bit of sleeping space at the back.
But it just packs like a metre pancake and you just have a pole and you get this massive tent. I'm just like, why aren't people running out the door screaming with them?
Well, it does follow that keep it stupid simple, keep it simple stupid sort of concept, doesn't it? A single pole in the middle. There's really nothing that can break on it.
Yep.
I reckon, and this is putting my data hat on. I reckon if you could drill down the four-wheel drive touring category of people down to just the really hardcore four-wheel drivers who are super remote camping all the time. Like, I'm not talking towing a big caravan or anything like that. They're really minimalist. Drive an old, Land Rover that's green, and everything's green, everything's canvas, it's all heavy duty. That type of tent would be really popular amongst that sort of person, potentially 1 to 2 people travelling, not a family, because it's not as livable for a family. Not as much standing space.
Well, look, I potentially disagree with that, because especially the Safari 360, which has that little extension bit out the back, there is way more livable space in that than there is in an RV5.
Yeah.
And it's more functional space as well, because you don't have the same giant taper at the back. And I know traditionally those sorts of tents, maybe if you're getting one Austral canvas, or I'm sure there are other Australian brands that make them because they're just a classic tent, but where, you have your door flap open, but that's about it. It's not modular. You don't have any way to extend it. But Darchi do. Darchi have this freaking amazing awning accessory thing that gives you this huge undercover space out the front with livability. And it's, I don't know, they're so underrated, and I just don't understand why they haven't been pushed over that threshold, especially when you think about RV and the pack size, and it has to go on your roof and how heavy it is. And
a big brand like Oztrail used to make them, and they stopped. So I guess
the Oztrail, I think
there's a bigger market for other types.
The Oztrail ones weren't anywhere near the same level of quality as the Darchi ones,
they used to be. Going back a long time.
Oh, going back a long time. Yeah, I think so.
Design.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my little mini rant there.
The only thing that might sway me from an RV is this evolution of air tents. If there's a durable, simple to pitch air tent, because I'm getting more and more confident in the durability of air poles now. And I like that because of the frame in an RV, if it bends, you can repair it, but you still got to use it while you're waiting for spare parts. Whereas an air tent, if you carried spare tubes, even if it did, they're almost indestructible, those bladders, once they're inside their protective casing. It can put up with any wind or anything. You just pump it up.
In terms of four-wheel drive and touring, though, a lot of the ones that are really out there or have been out there aren't really suitable for touring. However, I do know Darchi and Oztent, we don't stock them though. They're sort of branching out into the area of touring tents that have that same aesthetic and colour scheme and all that sort of jazz.
They're the ones I'm referring to. The newer ones, not the big family ones, the newer compact touring ones. So anyway, that's the first one. Best of. We're starting off well.
Family tents. Family tents.
Without a doubt, the Instant Up range
Coleman.
suits Coleman Instant Up tents. In particular the
North Star range, because it's got the inbuilt lighting. That's just literally just rocketed off in popularity in the last 18 months, I'd say, since they've been out, because for a lot of people who are investing in a tent, they're new to camping, they don't already have all the extra stuff. It totally eliminates them needing to purchase a lighting system or additional lanterns or anything. It's just, there you go.
And the dark room coating to help sleep in.
Correct. Or kids if they need day naps or whatever. But something that surprised me was that it's the 6P size that's the biggest seller. I mean, whole range sort of tops out, but the 6P size is the most popular. So
I just noticed that there, because I was going to say that the 10P, the big 10P, which I think is a really good family tent, would have been the best seller, but you're saying the 6P. But
data, that's what the data says.
That's what data says. But they are ideal for family camping because they offer loads of features, really good livability, lots of sort of doorways, windows, that sort of thing. So you can set it up in all sorts of manner of ways. But to have all those features means the fabrics have to be slightly lighter, so not as suitable for drive touring. But if you're just setting it up in
the instant up frames and stuff, a bit lighter duty.
Yep. But perfect for a caravan park or an easily accessible family-driven campsite. Yeah. Just and affordable range as well.
Yeah, I am not surprised either in terms of the fact that takes it out, because they are the number one selling tent. Like, they're so popular, and anytime you go to a caravan park, you just see them everywhere. Yep. I just feel sad that the good old dome tent's gone.
It is. Yeah.
And the only reason why I feel that way is because, remember how you're talking about with the RV, how it's field repairable and all that sort of jazz? With the Coleman tents, and I think a lot of other family tents that are in that really good price point, they're super accessible for a lot of people. It sort of seems there's a bit of a, how do I say this? Potentially like a shift into more of disposability, in the sense that spare parts aren't as readily available, and if they are, you have to like order them in specifically from the supplier, and it's not super easy, and because of the instant up frame, it's, you know, it's just a bit of a hassle. And I think in a lot of cases, particularly with those kind of tents, families or people who don't have certain skill sets or really don't have a huge amount of idea of what they're doing, if one of their tents breaks, then they're more likely to just throw it in the bin and get another one.
Yep.
And that makes me feel sad.
But you're right,
because
a dome tent's quite...
Like a dome tent is so easy to replace. You have very minimal skills. They're pretty bomb-proof.
Yep. They're also really affordable. The only thing you really lose with a dome tent is probably livability, because the sides are a little more sort of sloped, whereas the boxy are instant up and the fast frames of Oztrail are straight aside, so you can you got more room to stand up inside the tent.
Do you remember Zempire Neos?
Yeah, they were great.
They were fantastic.
Yeah.
And if anybody from Zempire is listening to this, please take note. Bring the Neos back.
Yeah.
They were boss. I don't know why you got rid of them, but they were geodesic. Instead of like just the 4 poles, there were 6, and the walls were way straighter, and you could put stretchers in, and they were so great.
Yep.
Bring them back.
Yep.
They're so good.
But, you know, once again, I'm going to say I think air tents are going to move into this space. So Zempire have got the Pronto.
Yeah.
It's Pronto, isn't it? There's been a few different names for that tent. But
and like Dometic Santorini, damn, they're such good looking tents.
Expensive, but a great tent. And that kind of crosses that touring family tent sort of category.
It does. And I'm just like, it's like essentially an air tent, but it looks like those cabin tents, like the old school cabin ones with all the big steel poles.
Straight
and
sides.
It just looks lush.
So
and I was like, I wouldn't buy one in the sense that it doesn't really suit me. But if I was starting from scratch, I look at those tents and go, gee whiz, that looks so good.
Livable.
I really wish I could buy
very
one.
Very livable.
Yeah.
The air poles have created all sorts of new scope for shapes of tents and also stability of the tents. So So watch that space. I don't know. There's got a long way to go before they take over the Coleman instant up, so they're just an affordable.
Yeah, I think so.
Tent. Anyway, going on to mats, hands down, can't go
no
past.
surprises
Exped
again.
MegaMat is just...
Specifically the 10 size. I mean, there's a 15 now, but the 10 just dominates.
It's not even a price-driven thing. They're not the cheapest mat out there. They're just good. They offer awesome flexibility, good insulation from the ground, and for what they offer in terms of comfort and insulation.
Yeah.
Did I say flexibility? I don't know. I might have said a wrong word there. They pack up really small. The way the foam and everything is cut, it all just sort of folds and it packs up really small.
And I mean, a lot of people do say, well, why am I spending $400 on an Exped mat when I can spend $300 on a Zempire, or, you know, $280 on a Coleman High Peak or Black Wolf or whatever. And I think the difference is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of other brands that have self-inflating mats, they have a really good idea of what they want their product to be, right? And then they go to their manufacturer and they say, we really want a product that, ticks all these boxes. What can you make for us? Mm-hmm. Whereas Exped, literally, similar to Cedar Summit with their design of gear, they literally design every single tiny element of that mat, and they go to their manufacturer and they were like, we want this exact mat. It has to be this exact material. You have to use this exact glue. You have to use this exact foam. And so they're actually physically designing in Europe. I don't know where Exped are from. Germany, maybe? I don't know. Swiss. So they're literally designing this super highly engineered product, which they back for 5 years.
Yep.
And getting it manufactured to spec. And so in that sense, it is a Rolls Royce, because you know that every single one of those things has been sought out by a product engineer.
I think you're right. Exped are great too. They'll just come up with a crazy idea. They go, that's pretty cool. We're not, even if they're not sure if it's a wanted thing, they go, we'll just see if we can design it. I remember there was dry bags, which is massive zips, and they were so cool, but I I can't remember the details of it, but there was something about it that didn't make it overly popular or wasn't overly usable, but they just went, that's pretty cool, let's see if we can do that. And they do just design it from scratch.
Yeah.
I don't want to discount the other brands though, because Zempire Monster Mat in particular is a really affordable mat. But you'll notice things like valves are similar across some mats, and that's where they might go to the same factory as a lot of high-end mats.
Correct.
But they're trying to make something to a price point, and maybe they don't have the R&D.
Like you said, it's definitely not to discount them. Zempire Monster Mats get thrashed by people. They're so loved. I think they're probably come in close. I think they'd probably be second on the list. I don't know it off the top of my head. But
I did a list recently. They're close to second. I mean, this is the other thing with these best of blogs, like the Exped MegaMats are made up of a lot of different models. Yeah. So when you add all those together, it ends up being number one, whereas the Monster Mat have got fewer models. So if you start breaking it down by individual mat, some are better than others. So. Yeah,
but mind you, we're talking like Exped MegaMat 10, single size, green and red. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, it like if you're combining green and red colour purchases, it's still the same as if Monster Mat has one colour.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's still legitimate data.
Yep.
But the Monster Mat's
an affordable option, and it's a bit bulkier, so there's a bit more foam in it for the same sort of insulation. So it's a little bit harder to roll up, ends up being a bit bigger packed up, but a really good option at a slightly lesser price.
Yeah, for sure.
Stoves.
So the number one stove is Coleman HyperFlame. Now, HyperFlame does Fire Cadet and a FireKnight, and both of those stoves take out the 1-2 position. Okay. It's the FireKnight.
The grey one.
It's like Gladiator written on it. Yeah, the big grey silvery thing. That is the number one by a good fair margin. Yep. They're so popular.
They don't have wings on the sides. The windshields are built into the stove pot support, so you can fit big pots on there. The burners have got a really high output.
I think that's why people like them, because Coleman have sort of designed them to be bomb-proof, and that's how they look and it's how they perform. The only issue that people seem to have with them is simmer control, because they are designed to be a massive output, super high stove. Like you can put a bloody 5 litre pot of water on there to boil pasta and you would have no issues whatsoever when you're out camping. And I think from anybody's experience, if you've camped for a reasonable amount of time, trying to boil 5 litres of water on a camp stove in general sucks. Yeah. So there is not promoting it because it's obviously DIY hacking your stove, but there are people who've found a way that they can sort of DIY hack the simmer control and get something that works for them, which is excellent, because otherwise I think it would burn the bejeebers out of your food. If you're just like 1 or 2 people and you might occasionally want to cook a bit of food, it's probably a bit overkill. But I think for families, it's pretty bomb.
Yep. I still like the Powerhouse stove, the dual fuel option, but that's never going to make number one position because gas is so much more accessible and talked about and used than multi-fuel stoves. And we're having trouble getting them now. There's talk about the Powerhouse range, the dual fuel range from Coleman. There's talk about them coming back or being made somewhere else. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, I think there was some issue with their manufacturer. They're trying to find another manufacturer who can do the parts. I don't know. I'm not an expert there. I'm just trying to say I don't necessarily really have an opinion on
you do a lot of campfire
stoves.
Cooking anyway,
I do a lot of campfire cooking, and like part of me feels like Harry Fisher doesn't approve, but I am going towards induction in the van just because I want, even on total fireband days, I want to be able to cook.
Yeah, okay.
And I know Harry said he would never cook on an induction because he thinks it's for goobers, but that's what I'm doing and I don't care.
Do you reckon he listens?
No.
Because he knows now.
Someone big and famous like that, not a chance.
Maybe he thinks we're big and famous. If he's listening,
he doesn't, Ben, but it's okay if you think that way.
Cut that bit out. Stoves, though, like a stove, they all do the job. Some of them just don't put out as much heat as others. At the end of the day, any stove on the shelf at Snowy's is going to boil your water. Some are just going to do it
eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
Lights. This,
Dude, I'm so happy with the number one of this because I sort of feel that they're a bit obscure.
Yeah.
And the fact that people have picked this at number one makes me so happy because I think they're like number one.
They're super versatile. These came out with, so it was a pack of 4 little lights, and they were battery operated.
And you could get them individually too.
And you get them individually. So they're basically like a headlamp. If you want to picture, let's tell people what they are, why don't they?
They're hardcore U-Lite, dual colour
lights. Yep. So they're like a
They
headlamp.
were originally in AAAs, weren't they?
They were.
And then they've upgraded them.
Now they're USB rechargeable. So you basically run it off USB. You can charge it in your car while you're driving during the day.
They're sort of like almost like a hot cross bun, but smaller.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Like if you get a nice juicy hot cross bun and you cut it in half, that's your little Uni-Lite.
I was going to say like a headlamp without the head strap, but we'll leave it up to the viewers who
right, you heard it here first. Hot cross bun, half a hot cross bun, or
a headlamp without a strap. Okay, I think we know who's going to win that.
Yeah, me.
Anyway, they don't have the headlamp strap, but they've got this little elastic thing, and there's a magnet in the back. So, and the USB rechargeable.
And it's also got a little indentation where the magnet is. So it's like the elastic strap. Sorry, I'm talking over the top of you here because these lights really make me feel happy. But the elastic strap is attached on one side and it has a little tab on the other. So you can literally wrap around a pole or a tree branch, or literally wrap it around whatever you want, and then hook the little elastic on the tab and it holds it in place. And because there's that little indentation there, it fits perfectly on round things. And there's a magnet, so you can magnet it to the side of your car if you want.
Yeah, to gazebo legs,
like anything.
Sorts. So
good.
When this came out, I bought a Hardkorr light bar kit, which gives out heaps of light, right? But going back, if I was to have my time again, I'd probably just get these because the light bar kit's quite big, and it takes a little bit of time to set up, and it gives out an awesome amount of light. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good kit, and I love it. But I don't often find I need that much light at camp. And this would reduce the kit down to like less than 30 centimetres by 20 centimetres.
It's like a pack of, you can get them, I think it's the pack of 4 that's the number one seller, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You can get them in a pack of 4, and it comes in sort of like a little soft/hard shell. It's soft to touch, but it's a hard shell case with your charger and all your lights in it.
There's a USB cord that splitter, so it goes out to 4, so you can charge all 4 at once.
Or it'd be like the size of like a mini loaf of bread.
I'd say about 4 hot cross buns.
Not much bigger than a pack of Tim Tams.
And they've got both orange and white light. If you had a gazebo and put 4 of them around pointing inwards, you'd have heaps of light.
Yeah, because I think Hardkorr say that if you have a 3x3 gazebo, a 1 meter light bar is more than ample to light that space, right? The only thing about the Uni-Lights, or I don't know why I always call them Uni-Lights, but they're U-Lite.
Oh no, they used to have a different name.
Maybe
I can't remember now.
They're U-Lite, as in the letter U-Lite.
Yep.
Anyway, it's got a strobe function and an orange function and a white function, and you can dim the white function. You can't dim the orange function. Like, you can't make the orange function brighter. It's just orange is fixed. And that would be my only, if anybody from Hardkorr's listening, that would be my only thing, is to make the orange be able to be dimmed or dimmable or whatever.
The benefit is it's so small you can just easily move it further away.
Yeah, it's true. But they're just so good. I just love them. And they just hold a charge for a really long time.
Have you got some?
Yes. Barely use any power. They're just so good. Anyway.
And you can go from, I set up my light bars and I've got to pack them up at night. I don't take them into the tent because I've got them under the awning. I just have a lantern in the tent. But with these, I could just take one into the tent at night. It just simplifies the whole setup. So I think they're great. The
only other thing I would comment on these, and I know that it's in the top 10 of lights and lanterns, but Zempire Hang Dome.
They're awesome.
They're so awesome, and I really love them too. For more of like a homey ambience type looking thing that still gives you awesome functional light.
Yep.
The Zempire Hang Dome, can't beat them.
They're like a tent chandelier, a little silicon cover that's on a string.
Chandelier.
Yeah, like a tent chandelier.
It's just a little dome light, little hanging dome light.
Yep, and you can just hang it over the top of a pole. Where do they come up with that name?
The actual light shade also glows in the dark.
Yep.
So it's really easy to find at the power button. Yep. It, again, holds so much charge. It's dimmable. It's a warm light. It just, creates a really nice feeling like you've got a pendant light hanging in your space.
Good for games in the tent. And that glowing function is really good for the kids too, because you turn the light out and it's really dark in a campsite if you're camping remote. There's that little glowing thing, so the kids have just got something. It's not just all.
And it's flat on the bottom, so you could sit it on a table if you wanted.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really like those as well.
Yep, awesome. Swags. 23-0. I mean, 23-0 is newer. There's 23-0 and Darchi are two really popular brands. We've had Darchi for a long time. 23-0 we've had for a long time as well, but not as long as Darchi. But we've had really good experience with 23-0 products. And so much so that a lot of their rooftop tents, swags, sleeping bags, whatever, are now sort of the best in most categories.
Yeah.
And in particular, the 23-0 dual swags.
So that's the number one swag.
Yeah, which are that. Yep. They've got the two hoops at each end and then a spreader bar in the middle.
Yep.
2 big doors on each side and sort of storm warnings at each end.
I understand why they're number one, because obviously they're just simple to set up and you have your access points. It's just straightforward. It's just a standard. And many brands that make swags make the same sort of design. Pretty much the same design.
Yep.
I just don't heaps like them. And the reason why is because when you are laying inside of them, the sides sag in because there's just only so much tension that you can put on the swag when it's supposed to be a dome, it's like a semicircle shape, right?
Yep.
And it's 2 meters long. Of course, the bits of fabric on the side are going to sag. And it's just like, for me, I get a little bit claustrophobic in the sense that, if I'm lying in bed, I don't know. And I'd feel like it's worse on the double because there's just so much more fabric that hangs in. And so the segmental ones that have the 3 different hoops and whatever, they completely offset that and keep the nice internal space open. But then accessibility becomes a bit of an issue because you've got half of one side to get in and out of your swag. So, it's sort of like a trade-off.
So that design, it's not just specific to the 23-0 one. That style
it's just that style.
They sag, but they are really popular and really affordable, and obviously they do the job because you see that style of swag everywhere. The segmental ones you're talking about, 23-0 have one called the Bandit that has that extra pole in the middle and then 2 spreader poles.
Yeah.
It's funny. We're kind of, you're going... It brings up that debate around, is it a tent or a swag kind of thing again?
No, because it doesn't.
No, just hear me out here. Because it's got so many poles in it. I'm talking about swag as we know, traditional bedroll, and I'm not going to... I can see you thinking that you're going to...
I'm just listening
This is not
peacefully.
a debate about swags here, so don't start.
Okay.
So many poles in a swag.
Yeah.
I might as well set up a hiking tent because a hiking tent weighs 2 kilos, gives me more space than a swag that weighs 14 kilos and takes up my entire boot.
Yeah, but you have to pack your mattress and bedding separately.
Well, even then, it's still less.
Yeah,
so I add a mat for 700 grams and a...
I do get what you're saying.
So there's a lot of... And I'm not saying don't buy it because sleeping... It's a pretty cool experience sleeping in canvas in the outback, and there's... Swag's really durable. When it's rolled up, it doubles as a seat. There are a lot of benefits to a swag by many means. But when you go to this Bandit, which is a pretty cool swag... It does. You've now got an extra pole
those segmental ones in general.
Yeah, 2 spreader poles to put in the middle, and then you don't have that big long doorway on the side to just roll right open on a hot night.
And I think what you're talking about with that big long doorway is probably one of the clinches for that model of swag, and 23-0's dual swag, because a lot of people do a swag and stretch a combo. Let's just call it that. And in that case, accessibility is even more important, because if your swag's up on a stretcher and you've just got this little sort of 80 centimetre gap that you've got to try and clamber into to get in and out of bed, it's not going to be as convenient as if you've got that whole wide open side of the dual swag. So,
and if it's a double, 2 of you can sit side by side and that big door's open. If you just want to sit up in the swag and have cook your breakfast outside the swag. So
I would definitely say like the 1100 and 1400 are more popular than the 900.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coffee makers. How are we up to? 34 minutes. Okay. Just made it really obvious then that we've got a timer behind the camera there.
Because we talked for so long, we've started to put a timer up so we have a bit more of an idea of what we're doing.
We're 2/3 of the way through and we're already past our...
It's fine. Anyway, keep going, Benji.
Nanopresso. Coffee makers.
Yes.
So Wacaco Nanopresso, which is basically like a espresso machine in your backpack. It gives a shot of coffee.
Feel quite bad here because I'm the one who has done all the videos and I love them and I know how they work. I can't remember if the mini presso or the Nanopresso, which one is the one that is versatile? Is it the Nano?
The Nano's the one. Oh, you got me thinking now. The mini presso is available in 2 versions, and I have to double check this. So you get the ground or the pod version.
The Nanopresso is like fully customizable,
and you can buy a pod
adapter
kit for it, or a barista kit, and all these other things as well, and a larger vessel for the hot water and all that sort of stuff. So they're basically they're like an espresso machine in that, like with a proper espresso machine, you put a shot of coffee and you tamp it down, and then the water's forced through the coffee into your cup and you get like a 30 ml shot of coffee. That's what these do, except you pump it with your hand. So it's forcing 30 mils of water, a little bit more through the coffee.
You're basically turning your hand into an espresso machine.
But you do need to still put
espresso, sorry, somebody's going to comment and be like, it's not espresso, it's espresso.
I get pulled up on how I say vegetable all the time. Vegetable.
Yeah, sure. Anyway.
Vegetable. Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, for me, if I want a coffee, I'd rather just pour it in a billy and chuck it on the fire, and then when it's finished, let it settle and tip it out. Like, do you know what I mean?
Cowboy coffee.
Yeah, I'm just not. Yeah. I mean, I love coffee, but I also I'm not invested in crema and the faff.
Well, the Nanopresso, you do get that shot with the crema. So if you like your shot of coffee in the morning, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
I do like a shot of coffee and coffee made with stretched milk, but.
What's stretched?
I hope that's actually a term now. But when you stretch the milk, when you use the wand and you stretch it.
You zhuzh it. Yeah.
Zhuzh. Is that a better term than stretched, is it?
Definitely.
But I use the AeroPress because with a Nanopresso, I still need to somehow heat up a heap of milk.
Yeah.
With the AeroPress, I use predominantly like a long black with a bit of milk in it. So for camping and stuff, it's
because the AeroPress volume of water is much higher. More. Yeah.
So slightly different. So AeroPress is kind of a cross between a French press and an espresso in a way.
Yeah.
You kind of force it through, but not. It's a much longer.
It's just not as you don't get like that same pure shot of coffee like you do with a Nanopresso.
No, you don't extract all the crema and everything. But yeah, if you want your shot of coffee, like proper espresso coffee, then look for the Wacaco Nanopresso or mini presso.
Right, top 10 best of sections for hiking. The number one for tents, this surprises me. I'm going to be 100% honest. The number one for the tents is Explore Planet Earth Spartan, primarily the number 2, but it also comes in a 3-person.
Yeah, so we've typically, because we, as a camping shop, our primary market is like camping 4-wheel drive. Mm-hmm. Inevitably, those people also do a bit of hiking. So we have hiking stuff as well. And in our hiking mix, we've got some quite like a big range. We've got some really affordable stuff right through to the really sort of high-end stuff. Mm-hmm. Some other brands who focus just on hiking probably drop a lot of that really affordable stuff and just kind of have medium to high-end stuff.
Yeah.
So we sell a lot of these, like the EPE Spartan, and there's a Companion Pro Hiker.
Well, I would have thought that the Companion Pro Hiker would have easily taken the number 1 spot. They're just so good.
Well, it's been around for a long time. Now, those tents, and they have been at our number 1 for a lot, for ages. The Spartan, those come on recently and probably maybe looks a little bit more technical. It's got a slightly different frame and sort of generated a bit of interest, I suppose.
Maybe. It's just weird because obviously, again, I've done the product videos for those, so I'm across them.
Okay.
The way that the frame's set up, it sort of just freaks me out. It's like the tension is pulled a bit off, but I guess it does give you a bit more headroom and stuff. The way that the frame is designed, it pulls the roof of the tent out and makes it a bit more square.
Exactly. Yep.
And I guess maybe the colour is like an army green or a darker green colour, and that's a big factor for a lot of people.
Yep.
But I'm just surprised in terms of, the weight and the actual physical product itself. I am surprised that that's taken number 1 for the hiking tent spot.
I think it's the livability side of it. So the Pro Hike that we talk about is just a dome tent. So it's got, and you can't go wrong with a dome tent. Great option. And we're talking sort of $150 to $200 price range here for these tents. So they're really affordable for a hike tent, and you can get some pretty nasty options for that price. But the EPE Spartan and the Pro Hiker seem to buck the trend there and actually do the job. But the trade-off is they're a bit heavier, than a high-end alternative where you're talking $600, $700, $800 for a similar type of tent.
And I guess motorcycle tourists and like more compact adventurers like kayakers, for example. I mean, for kayaking potentially and bicycle touring, weight's going to obviously be a factor, but motorcycle touring less so.
Yep.
And those people are also investing and buying hiking tents. So this being the number one seller doesn't mean it's exclusively multi-day hikers that are buying this particular tent. It's just in the hiking tent category as a whole, people who are wanting to buy small, compact tents.
They're not counting every 10 grams.
Yeah,
the compact version.
But the Spartan's taken the juice.
Zempire's offering is really good for that middle of the range, and then obviously MSR's Hubba at the high end of the range.
The Marmot ones are pretty good. Like I have a Marmot, and I'm very happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a brand that's been around for a while too. So,
yeah.
Stoves.
No surprises. JetBoil Flash.
JetBoil Flash, yeah. Now this kind of JetBoil sort of crossed over into a coffee maker option as well, because you can get a coffee plunger for it.
That's what I've got for my mini moat.
We do sell a lot of the coffee things. Yeah. So if you want a swag and a coffee maker in one, get the JetBoil with a coffee plunger and you're sorted.
Yeah.
But the Flash, just a super simple way to cook. You can't cook a stew or anything in it, or if you do, you've got to keep stirring it because it will burn to the bottom. But for boiling water, dehydrated foods, making coffee, hot water for coffee and that sort of thing, can't go wrong. It's a really compact
and
option.
Obviously there are a couple of options, like the Minimo that I have, for example, has a lot better simmer control because it's wider and shorter, and it is designed for more of a cooking type thing, but it is essentially the same thing. And realistically, you don't have to take anything else. You don't have to take bowls or cups or anything, and unless there's two of you. But if you can drink out of it if you want. The lid doubles as a strainer. Yep. It's just, it's good. So I really think they're underrated.
Mentioning this will probably make the ultra lightweight hikers sort of want to say something, because you've got the likes
and
of Pocket.
100% agree.
You've got the likes of Pocket Rocket, which is just an institutional stove in the hiking range that's super compact and weighs like, top of my head, 69 grams. Really light anyway.
Yes, super light.
And then you've also got the really simplistic Trangia side of it, which, you can't break them. So you could debate all day what's the best hiking
this
stove.
Is, as we've said, this is genuinely the best according to consumers.
For our category. And you would get a lot of campers buying a JetBoil Flash for a roadside coffee stop and that sort of thing as well. So
I have, as I said, I have the JetBoil Minimo, which is the mini version of the Flash essentially, and I use it for literally all of my camping things. Yep. But if I was strictly a hiker, I don't know if that would be my choice.
I'm the same. I'd be taking I've got a Whisper Light, a multi-fuel stove, but that's getting kind of heavy, but I can manage how much gas I use or how much fuel I use. But if I wanted really light, then the Pocket Rocket or the 360 degrees Furno stove, I don't think you can go past that.
I mean, what is it, like $30 or something? It's just
stupidly good value for a little gas stove. Anyway, last one. Is that the last one?
Yes.
Nothing on the back of the sheet.
Last one.
Mats. Cedar Summit.
Hiking mats specifically.
Hiking mats. Cedar Summit sleep range is extensive and awesome.
Extensive, awesome. Total domination of the space, in my opinion.
Well, in our range.
But generally across hiking, I mean, you've got Thermorest, you've got Nemo, you've got a couple of other brands, but like Cedar Summit, they're just boss.
But, they came to the game late with a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of established brands, but they come out really well, like with, they came out fighting because they said, we're going to make not just sleeping bags and not just mats, we're going to make sleep systems.
Correct.
So that included the mat, the sleeping bag, the pillow, the liner. They made them all join interchangeable. Like they thought about, as Cedar Summit seemed to do, they thought about it from the ground up, what the consumer wants and how to make it really functional and continually add to their purchase, to kind of take that fear out of, if I buy this, I'm stuck with a bag I can't use. Yeah. You can buy that and then add to it or buy something that will work with it. And I feel like I've mentioned it before on the podcast at some stage, but Cedar Summit is one of those brands where you're using the product and you're like, it'd be really good if it had this, and then you go to sort of be like, wouldn't it be cool if there was something there, and then you look and it's like, it is there. Like Cedar Summit have already thought about that exact same thing that I was like, wouldn't it be cool if it had this?
So, and they're generally all people that use gear. Do you know what I mean? And I think the whole brand was started by really enthusiastic and active outdoor pursuitists.
Oh, well, yeah, the guys who did Sea to Summit.
Like, the
Summit
actual,
to the sea.
Exactly, like
Snape and
but like all the people that are involved in the company generally and product design are really actively involved in using the gear that they make.
Do you know?
But I have an Etherlite and I really love it.
They're like 8 centimeters thick and really light.
10.
So 10. There you go.
Yeah.
You know the amount of times I've shot a
light.
Sea to Summit video, particularly with their sleeping bags, and I've been looking at the product while we're doing the video, and I noticed something on there that I'm like, I don't know what that is. And as we do, we think, well, if we want to know what it is, our customers are going to want to know what it is. So at that stage, we usually get on the phone to the supplier, and a lot of the time, the suppliers sort of go, I don't really know, and they go to design and have to kind of find out what it is.
Yeah, it takes you a couple of days. They eventually get back to you.
The response from Sea to Summit is usually like, yeah, that's for a future feature. Maybe just don't mention that right now. So, like, on products that are already on the shelf,
there's
already features
for
future editions.
Yeah.
But they don't mention what it is at the moment.
Or you call them and they're like, yeah, that's actually for this, because they know what it's for and it's important to them. And it's like, oh, what's this weird loop on the side of the thing? That's actually for swing tags for retailers, so they don't have to put a pin through the thing. They just put it through this tiny little loop. It's like they consider everything.
Yep. And all their tags come to look good on the shelf and help the consumer understand it as well.
So the Etherlite mats, they're 10 centimetres. They come in non-insulated and insulated versions. There's also now an extreme version, which I'm going to upgrade to because I cold sleep real bad, which is like super, super insulated. They're just thick. They're juicy. You can tailor the firmness of them. I don't know. I just love them. I think they're great.
Have a look at the whole Sea to Summit sleep system range, from ultra lightweight hikers through to car campers. There's something for everyone.
I'm pretty sure in the top 10 there was only like 1 or 2 mats that weren't a Sea to Summit mat.
Well, this is the thing. Sometimes we do these top 10. I'll do the top 10, and it was for the mats. Quite often it's just all Sea to Summit. You're like, well, that's a bit boring for the consumer because they're going to want to know where does Thermarest fit into this, because I've had a Thermarest for 15 to 20 years, still going strong.
Thermarest is a great brand. Like their Neo Air mats, for example, they're really great.
Really expensive, but really so perfect for the
I
ultra
looked
light
into
option.
it, but I was like, I just don't want that because it's 8 centimeters and I don't want 10 centimeters. I'm a princess.
So we have to, like, when we do the list, I kind of have to manipulate it a little bit to try and show these
still
are the best.
Still accurate representation.
Yeah, but trying to pull a bit of a mix of products in there to help people guide people through.
For sure.
You know, we don't want Thermarest not to be on the list because they're not good. We want them to be on the list and have a chance to say they're good.
Yeah.
But you just did it, try to hide that yawn.
I did try to hide that yawn.
I saw it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway.
Well, that is the best of the top 10 best of in those categories.
100th episode.
On our 100th episode for 2023. I just want to know what people think about what the number one, the cake takers, and whether or not they agree with it, if they've got one, if they've got something that they think is better. What
would be your number one?
Yeah.
Tear us apart in terms of what we think here.
Well, not what we think, what customers are buying.
What our customers are buying,
yeah. Because, again, reiterating as we have, this isn't our opinion. The number one is taken out by customers.
We've thrown our opinion in there, though.
Yeah, we have.
Just because that's what we do.
Well, you're going to get it anyway. May as well record it.
I can't believe we sat here and talked for 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're still getting started.
It does sometimes, for sure. Anyway. But then other times I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Because we've talked about so much already, and it's actually been really great.
We're trying to get more brands and stuff on board, just lining up interviews, and then the whole technical element gets thrown in the mix, and it's hard to line it all up. But come celebrate with us on the Facebook page.
Episode 100.
Episode 100.
Who's been here since the beginning?
I can think of a few names.
Me too. Catch you later in a fortnight.
See you guys. See you next time.